"You're single, you don't need a whole place." My sister wanted my home for her family. I refused, and she ended up drowning in bills. I'm 29, the older brother. My sister's 27, and she's always been the golden one in our family. To understand what happened, you have to know where it all started. When my parents had me, they were still figuring out their careers and finances. 3 years later, my sister was born, and that's when everything changed. It became clear, even to outsiders, that she was the favorite. My parents were never cruel to me, but once she arrived, their world revolved around her. Relatives would notice and whisper, "They spoil her too much." My parents would laugh it off. Growing up, the difference was obvious. My birthdays were simple, a homemade cake, a few friends, nothing fancy. My sister's birthdays. Rented venues, decorations, and big guest lists. When I asked why, Dad said, "You're older now." I was 8. She was 6. It was the same with toys. I spent months saving for a skateboard, doing small chores and collecting coins. She said she wanted a bike, she had it that weekend. Mom's excuse was always, "She's younger, let her have it." Even school was no different. I'd bring home excellent grades and get a nod. My sister brought home average marks or a drawing, and it went right up on the fridge. I remember one science fair where I took second place. Dad didn't show up because of work. A month later, my sister had one line in a school play. Both parents left work early to watch. Mom said, "She gets nervous, she needs us there." Apparently, I didn't need anyone. I was the quiet one, never got into trouble, helped around the house, stayed out of drama. But to my parents, that just meant I didn't need attention. If she got in trouble, I was told, "You're older, you should understand." If I got frustrated, they said, "She's younger, be patient." It was like my only purpose was to make her comfortable. Early lessons in unfairness by middle school, I had fully realized how things worked at home. My sister was always the center of attention. I was the helper in the background. Once, I wanted to join a science competition that required some materials. I asked at dinner if they could help with the costs. Dad said it was too expensive, and Mom told me to skip it this year. A week later, my sister joined a dance camp that cost twice as much. They paid instantly. I built my project anyway, using scrap materials in the garage. I couldn't compete officially, but my teacher was impressed that I tried. That's when I learned something important. If I wanted something, I'd have to do it myself. It wasn't just money, it was everything. If my sister made a mess, I was told to clean it. If something went missing, I was automatically blamed. Once, she left a juice box on the couch and stained it. Mom called me from my room to clean it up. I said, "It wasn't me." She sighed, "I know, but she's tired, just do it." That kind of thing became normal. When she slammed doors or rolled her eyes, my parents said she just had attitude. If I even raised my voice, it was disrespect. Dad would pull me aside and say, "You're the older one. Keep the peace." It didn't matter who was wrong, I was expected to fix things. At school, I noticed how different my life was from my friends. Their parents showed up to games, helped with projects, asked about grades. Mine mostly told me what chores to do. Take out the trash. Help your sister with her homework. Don't stay out too late. Meanwhile, my sister was showered with affection and praise. "How was your day? What do you want for dinner? You're doing amazing." By 16, I stopped expecting anything. I worked small jobs, mowing lawns, shoveling snow, walking dogs, to buy what I needed. My sister once joked, "I'm the favorite." My parents just smiled. I didn't even argue anymore. When school trips came around, I didn't bother asking. One trip cost $30. I skipped it without mentioning it. I used to think maybe money was tight, until I saw my parents take my sister shopping for clothes and gadgets. One day, I overheard Mom on the phone saying, "He's fine, he doesn't need much. She's the one we have to focus on, she's more sensitive." That's how they saw me, someone who didn't need support. But I did. I just learned not to ask for it. By high school, I was doing everything on my own. I took part-time jobs and saved what I could. It wasn't much, but it gave me control. If I wanted a book or a new game, I bought it myself. My parents praised my independence, but they didn't realize it wasn't a choice, it was survival. My sister, on the other hand, got whatever she wanted. New clothes, clubs, hobbies, she'd try something for a week and quit. Mom would say, "She's finding herself." When I was 17, my friends' parents came to every basketball game. Mine never did. By graduation, I knew I couldn't rely on them. They paid some basic school expenses, but I covered most things myself. When my sister turned 17, she got a used car from them. I asked if I could borrow it for prom. They said no, she might need it. Didn't even sting anymore. I was used to it. I got into a decent state college in another city, nothing fancy but solid. It meant freedom, space to finally live my own life. Before I left, my parents reminded me they couldn't help much financially. I got scholarships, grants, and worked 2 part-time jobs to cover the rest. They helped with books for 1 semester, but the rest was on me: rent, food, everything. When my sister started community college later, they threw her a huge good luck dinner. When I left, it was just a quick goodbye. College was tough at first, but I adjusted. I worked at a coffee shop on weekdays and a bookstore on weekends. I budgeted everything, tracked every dollar in a notebook. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. Meanwhile, back home, my sister switched programs twice before dropping out completely. She lived rent-free with my parents, doing nothing. They even bought her a newer car when her old one had issues. Mom called me asking for help setting up the Bluetooth. That's how I found out. Whenever I called home, the conversation was about her. She's figuring things out. She's stressed, be patient. You've always been good at managing. By sophomore year, I got lucky. My professor helped me land a part-time tech assistant job. It paid well, and I still kept my weekend shifts. I saved aggressively. I even opened my first real bank account. When I saw $600 in savings, I felt proud. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I rarely called home after that. I'd learned not to expect support or attention. My sister kept bouncing between short-term jobs, quitting each one while my parents coddled her. She just hasn't found her passion, Mom would say. I wanted to tell her I didn't love working double shifts either, but I stayed quiet. By junior year, I'd streamlined everything. I got a cheaper apartment with roommates, sold my bike, bought a small used car. Every month, I put a bit into savings and even started reading about investing. Back home, my sister turned 19. My parents threw her a lavish birthday party, bought her a new laptop, and paid for a week-long beach trip with her friends. For my 21st birthday, I worked a shift, ordered takeout, and celebrated with a friend. Didn't even bother telling my parents. By the time I graduated, I had a steady job offer from the tech company I'd been working with. I'd paid off my small student loans and saved enough for a down payment on an apartment. When I mentioned it to my dad, his response stunned me. Good, maybe you can help your sister when she needs it. That's when it hit me. They still saw me as her backup plan. I made a silent promise that day. Everything I earned would be for me. After college, I stayed in the same city and accepted the full-time offer. The pay wasn't huge, but for a 23-year-old, it was solid. I upgraded to a better apartment, kept my old car running, and started saving steadily. Meanwhile, back home, my sister, now 21, was still unemployed and living rent-free. She had quit school entirely and complained about how hard life is. My parents treated her like she was fragile. Every phone call was about her. Be kind, she's struggling. She's trying her best. When I visited home for holidays, she treated me like a stranger. She'd make snide comments about my clothes, my car, even my job. Still driving that thing? You ever take a break from work? If I ignored her, she'd provoke me. Too good for us now, huh? One Thanksgiving, I brought a basket of snacks and wine. She rolled her eyes and said, "Thanks, but Mom already covered everything. You don't need to show off." My parents said nothing. Dad even told me, "Don't take it personally, that's just how she jokes." When she started dating a guy, it got worse. She'd brag nonstop about how supportive he was and how they were going places. One dinner, she looked straight at me and said, "At least he doesn't work all the time like some people." Mom laughed. Dad shrugged. I bit my tongue. Around that same time, I got my first real promotion, team leader. I was proud, so I organized a small dinner for close friends and invited my family. Everyone came except them. Later, Mom called to say, "Sorry, your sister got a new certificate and we went out with her." It was just some basic online course. Dad chimed in, "You know how she gets, we couldn't say no." That night, I realized something final. They'd never show up for me, and honestly, I didn't need them to anymore. I kept pushing forward, saving more, working harder, and hunting for new opportunities to move up. I trained myself to skip unnecessary expenses and started diving deep into books and videos about finance, real estate, and smart investing. Weekends became my reset time, relaxing, seeing friends, and scrolling through apartment listings. My long-term goal was simple. Before I hit 31, I wanted to own my own home. Whenever my parents reached out, it was rarely about me. Every call somehow circled back to my sister. "Can you help her with her resume? She's thinking of applying for a loan. She wants to start a business, maybe you can guide her." And if I said I was busy, the tone would instantly change. Cold, disappointed. Once my mom said, "Don't forget where you came from." I didn't argue, I just kept my focus. During one visit home, I finally snapped a little. My sister was ranting about how underpaid she was, and before I knew it, my mom said, "Maybe you can talk to your boss about hiring her." I told her plainly, "She doesn't have the background for it. I worked my way here." Dad glared at me. "Don't be selfish. Family helps family." My sister smirked. "You act like you're some big shot. It's just a job." That night, I drove home and made a quiet promise to myself. I'd stop letting them decide what I owed. I didn't cut anyone off, I just stopped oversharing. I kept my earnings, investments, and plans to myself. Whenever they asked, I gave short, polite answers. Not out of anger, just out of strategy. By 26, I was doing better than I'd ever imagined. Solid savings, no debt, and a reliable car. My sister still lived at home. She had a new car, though, one my parents helped her buy, and they still paid a good chunk of her expenses. She'd brag online about her independence, but I knew the truth. When she wrecked the car, my parents called me saying I should keep an eye on her. I just nodded, no arguments. At that point, I had bigger plans. By 27, life was steady. Work was solid, my routine was consistent, and my savings were finally growing into something real. I wasn't splurging or chasing trends, just quietly building. My friends joked that I was stingy, but I knew exactly what I was doing. I spent weekends hunting listings, meeting agents, and crunching numbers. I didn't want a mansion, just a stable, comfortable apartment close to work. Then I found it. 3 bedrooms, tons of light, and the price was just within reach. Signing that paperwork felt like crossing a finish line. I didn't tell my parents right away. I waited until the keys were in my hand. Then I sent a group photo in front of the building. Finally did it. My own place. Responses came fast. "Mom, congrats, when can we come see it?" "Dad, nice, your sister will love to see it too." "Sister, finally, took you long enough." I invited them over for lunch that weekend. I cooked, gave them a tour, and tried to enjoy the moment. Mom admired the lighting. "Perfect for a young family someday." Dad asked about the extra bedroom. Before I could answer, my sister chimed in, "What a waste of space, imagine a crib in there." I smiled. "Good thing I bought it for me, not for you to play decorator." She rolled her eyes. "You don't even have anyone, it's selfish to have a whole place to yourself." Dad gave me a subtle look to let it go. I didn't. "Yeah, I worked 3 jobs and skipped vacations so I could selfishly buy something with my own money. Crazy, huh?" Mom changed the topic, but I could tell they were impressed, just too proud to admit it. They started asking about furniture prices, then Dad said, "At least it's in a good area, easy to sell when you upgrade, maybe your sister can stay short-term." I laughed. "Sure, as long as she signs a lease and pays market rent." Mom frowned. "You're so sarcastic." "I'm just practical," I said. "I helped myself because no one else was offering." They went quiet. Lunch ended fine, but afterward the jabs started again, little comments about my apartment, my attitude, or my lifestyle. My sister texted things like, "When I get my place, it'll be bigger," or "Your apartment's cute but needs more color." I'd reply, "Nice. Let me know when that happens." Months passed. At another family dinner, my sister was complaining about bills and gas prices. "Must be nice having a free place," she said. "It's not free," I replied. "Banks still love getting their monthly payments." Dad stepped in. "She means you don't have to worry about rent." "Yeah," I said, "because I planned ahead and didn't quit every job I got." My sister glared. "You think you're better because you bought a box with windows. Better than whining about one I don't own," I said calmly. Mom begged us to stop. "She's just stressed." "She's always stressed," I muttered. "Maybe that's why you keep paying for her things." "Enough," Dad said firmly. "We help her because she needs it." "Right," I said. "And I managed because no one helped me. Got it." The room went dead silent. That night I realized nothing would ever change. They'd always see her as the fragile one and me as the one who didn't need help. So I stopped expecting anything. Years rolled by. My sister jumped from one job to another, constantly venting online about how unfair the world was. My parents kept making excuses for her. Then one summer, we had a big family barbecue. I showed up with food and drinks. My sister came late, clinging to her new boyfriend. Everyone gathered around her like she was a celebrity. Midway through dinner, she stood up, beaming. "I have news," she said. "We're having a baby." Cheers, hugs. Toasts. I smiled, walked over and said, "Congrats, hope you're ready for sleepless nights." She laughed. "Oh, I'll have plenty of help, right?" I didn't think much of it then. But later that evening, she brought it up again, this time with my name attached. She turned to me in front of the table. "Actually, your apartment would be perfect for us, close to everything. Room for the baby." I blinked, thinking she was joking. Good thing I bought it for myself then. I'm serious, she said. We can't stay with Mom and Dad forever. You've got that extra room sitting empty. It's not empty, I said. It's my office for my stuff. She rolled her eyes. Come on, you don't even have a family. It's just you. This would really help me. I worked for mine, I said. Maybe you should try that method. Mom cut in. She's asking because she needs help. You're single, you can wait to get another place later. I stared at her. Wait, you're saying I should hand over the home I bought because she's pregnant? Dad added. She's starting a family. That's more important. You'll understand when you have kids. I shook my head. So when I was grinding through 3 jobs and living off takeout, that didn't count. But now she gets pregnant and suddenly my work belongs to her. My sister folded her arms. You're making this a big deal. You could rent somewhere for a while. We'll take care of your place. I laughed. Right, just like you took care of that car you crashed or that job you quit after a month, she snapped. So you're going to throw that in my face forever. I thought family helps family. They do, I said, when it's mutual, not when it's a one-way handout. Mom's voice hardened. You always bring up the past. She's asking during a hard time. Hard time, I said flatly. That's a choice. I'm not signing up to fix it. Dad's voice rose. Don't talk like that. She's your sister. Show some respect. Respect works both ways, I said. Respect my work, my home, and my boundaries. The room froze. My sister started crying. You're so selfish. It's just one thing. One thing, I said. You've had everything since we were kids, the gifts, the help, the car. I got lectures. And now you want my place. Her face flushed red. Fine, keep your stupid apartment. Don't expect us to show up for your next big thing. Don't worry, I said. I stopped expecting you years ago. Mom muttered something about me being cold. Dad shook his head in disappointment. I picked up my stuff and left. As I walked away, my sister shouted, You'll regret this when you're alone. I turned and said, Better alone than broke and bitter. That was the last time I pretended things were okay. The text started the next day, guilt-tripping messages, emotional paragraphs. Dad said, She cried all night, hope you're happy. Mom said, We raised you better. My sister said, You ruined my pregnancy announcement. I didn't reply. 3 days later, my sister called again. Fine, I don't want your apartment, but at least help us with money to get a place. I laughed. So now I owe you because I said no, that's creative. Then came the family gossip. My parents told relatives I'd changed. Some cousins messaged me, I explained my side, and most of them said, Yeah, your parents always bobbied her. I didn't need validation. I just went back to work, doubled down, and focused. A few months later, I got promoted again, higher pay, more freedom. I threw a small celebration with friends and a few cousins. My parents didn't come. My sister posted something vague online about families forgetting what matters. I ignored it. Then I heard from an aunt. My parents had dipped into their retirement savings to cover my sister's bills. She'd quit her job again because it was too stressful. They were helping with her rent, her car, and her hospital expenses. I stayed out of it. Whenever I got a guilt text like, Your sister's struggling, I'd just reply, Hope she figures it out. A month before the baby came, Mom called. Can't you just loan her a bit, just until things settle down? You mean so she doesn't have to figure it out herself for 3 more months? You've changed, she said. You used to care. No, I said. I just realized who cared about me. When the baby was born, everyone acted like royalty had arrived. I sent a small gift and a short note. Congrats, hope the baby's healthy. Her reply. Wow, that's it? I left it on read. Months later, I heard the boyfriend had stopped working, the bills piled up, and they'd moved back in with my parents. The wedding plans, canceled. Dad even dipped further into savings to help them. When he finally called me again, his tone was softer. We may have been too hard on you, he said. We didn't realize how much you did alone. Could you maybe help us a little each month, just until we get back on track? I almost laughed. So after years of you're fine, you can handle it. Now I'm supposed to carry everyone. It's family, he said. Exactly, I replied. Family supports, not drains. I learned that from you. That was the last real conversation we had. The real victory came later that year. At my company's end-of-year event, my name flashed across the big screen, an award for major contributions. I walked on stage, shaking hands with leadership, smiling for photos. I even got a huge bonus. I posted one photo online, just me, holding the trophy, smiling. No tags, no captions. The likes and comments poured in, coworkers, friends, old classmates. Mom liked it but didn't comment. Dad said nothing. My sister stayed silent. When Christmas came, I saw them again. They were polite, quieter, almost careful. My sister barely looked at me. Dad asked about work, Mom talked about the baby. Nobody mentioned the apartment. Nobody asked for help. They didn't need to, they already knew the answer. My sister whispered as I got up to leave, "You must feel proud." "Not proud," I said. "Just glad I stopped waiting for anyone's approval." Dad looked at me but didn't argue. Mom gave a quick hug. "Drive safe," she said softly. That was it. Looking back, I realize I never got the apology I deserved. But I did get something better: peace, independence, and proof that I can build anything on my own. The kid who was told to always understand finally learned when not to. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to leave a comment. Hit subscribe, follow for more, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss the next one.